contract exists when two or more persons agree to abstain from doing the certain acts with the intention of creating the legal relations and not merely to exchange a mutual promise. Contract play an important role in defining the terms and obligations of agreement between two or more parties. It has the traditional contract, electronic contracts, and the smart contracts. Traditional contracts consist of the written or oral agreements, or even a combination of both that establish the legally enforceable duties between the parties. However, with the rise of the technology, the new forms of the contract have emerged, including the electronics and the smart contracts. As we know that the traditional contracts are often manually drafted and enforced, while electronic contracts are digitally created and signed, with offering the convenience and efficiencies. Not only that, smart contracts will utilize the blockchain of the technology to automate and execute the agreements without the needs of the intermediaries. Each of the contract has own features, benefits, and challenges, making them suitable for different business situations, so that it definitely makes the human more convenient. Contract, also known as the conventional contract, are legally binding agreements between two parties involving an exchange of value. This contract can be verbal or written, with the written agreement preferred for better enforceability. Traditional contract also include lump sum contract, measurement contract, and cost reimbursement contract. Lump sum contract, where the costs are fixed and predictable, making them client-friendly. For the measurement contract, where the costs are calculated through the remeasurements. And for the cost reimbursement contract, which reimburse the actual cost along with the overhead and the profits. While the lump sum contract offers stability, measure and cost reimbursement contract provide greater and flexibility but come with the higher risk. Next is the electronic contracts. Electronic contracts are legally binding agreements where formed online and combining the formality of traditional contract with the efficiency of digital executions. They must be met with the essential legal requirements such as for offer, acceptance, and the considerations. Electronic contract also include the broad agreement, clip wrap agreement, and the scroll wrap agreement and the sign-in wrap agreements. As we know that the broad wrap agreement which bind the user by website usage without the explicit consents, while the clip wrap agreement requires user to actively click I accept. For the scroll wrap agreement, which requires the user to scroll through the terms before agreeing. And last is the sign-in wrap agreement, which the consent is given during the sign-in process. Electronic contracts are particularly effective and high volume, low value agreement like terms and conditions, with the contract management tools ensuring the enforceability and streamlined record keeping. Lastly is the smart contract. Smart contracts are self-executing digital agreements stored on the blockchain networks. It's automatically treat and predefine the conditions are met. Written in a programming language like Solidity, they eliminate the intermediaries and the streamline transactions. Smart contract including the smart legal contract, decentralized autonomous organization DAOs, and the application logical contracts ALCS. For the smart legal contract, which provide the legal transparency and the secure executions, while for the decentralized autonomous organization DAOs, which enable the collective governance on blockchains. And lastly is the application logical contract ALCS, which facilitating the interaction between the device and the blockchain networks. While the smart contract automate the processes like the payment and asset transfer, additional legal frameworks are often required to ensure the traditional enforceability.
So next, let's delve into the key characteristics of traditional contract, electronic contract, and also smart contract. There are 4 key characteristics, namely automation, cost effectiveness, transparency, and immutability. Firstly, for automation, traditional contracts are highly automated as they rely fully on manual processes for drafting, verification, and enforcement. These stages involve significant paperwork, increasing the risk of delays. Secondly, for electronic contract, it is self-automated. Tools assist in drafting, negotiation, and signing electronically. However, actual enforcement and dispute resolutions are manual. And thirdly, for smart contracts, they are fully automated, which executes action automatically upon meeting predefined conditions, removing all the need for intermediaries and reducing human errors. For traditional contracts, they are flexible and modifiable. Parties can renegotiate terms, amend, or even revoke them if deemed unfair or lawful. For electronic contracts, they are moderately immutable, which means contracts can be locked or electronically signed and changes are tracked. Finally, for smart contracts, they are highly immutable, which means once executed, they cannot be altered, enhancing security and legal certainty. The third key characteristic is cost effectiveness. Traditional contracts are high in cost. Their expenses including drafting, negotiations and enforcement, especially for complex agreements. As for electronic contracts, it reduces costs by eliminating physical paperwork and enabling remote signing and cloud storage. For smart contracts, they are most effective. Initial coding cost is high, but operational costs are minimal due to automated executions and lower costs. The fourth and final key characteristic is transparency. In traditional contracts, there are only limited transparency. This is because the terms are private and third-party intervention is only required for conflict resolution. Secondly, for electronic contracts, there is modern transparency. This means documents can be shared electronically with control access, but modification history can be tracked and traced. And thirdly, for smart contracts, it is highly transparent because smart contracts operates on blockchain, making contract terms and transaction progress visible to all with access to the network. This distinction highlights how smart contracts emerge as a transformative tool for digital transactions, significantly reducing inefficiencies presenting in traditional and electronic contracts. I will be presenting the advantages and disadvantages of smart contract, traditional contract, and also electronic contract. For traditional contract, the advantages are it is highly flexible and customizable for last-minute changes. It is legally binding and enforceable in court. It requires low technical expertise, reducing the need for specialized skills. Traditional contracts have manual storage and signature processes simplify verification. The disadvantages of traditional contracts are they are vulnerable to fraud and miscommunication, risking financial losses. The manual enforcement is time-consuming and costly. It lacks transparency, requiring a high degree of trust between the parties. Next, I will be explaining the advantages and disadvantages for electronic contracts. The advantages are electronic contracts are highly convenient and can be executed anywhere, saving time and cost. It uses secure digital signatures and pre-verified templates. It also reduces errors by employing standardized formats. The disadvantages are electronic contracts have limited storage capacity on servers. The amending e-contracts can be time-consuming due to layered processes, and the potential disputes over digital signature authenticity and privacy concerns cannot be mitigated. Finally, for smart contracts, the advantages are reducing transaction costs by eliminating intermediaries. Secondly, smart contracts are highly transparent and trackable, fostering trust and avoiding disputes. Thirdly, it automates tasks, saving significant time in business processes. The disadvantages are it is difficult to enforce due to limited adoption and cross-border challenges. Secondly, it is prone to errors or bugs, leading to financial losses. The last disadvantage of smart contract is it is almost impossible to amend, making error correction expensive and time-consuming.
Moving on to legal and regulatory considerations. Traditional contracts in Malaysia are governed by the Contract Act 1950, which establishes rules for their creation, execution and enforcement. To be valid, a contract must include essential elements such as offer, acceptance, consideration and intention to create legal relations. Parties must also possess the legal capacity to contract, meaning they must be mentally competent, of legal age and not legally disqualified. Contracts become void if they involve unlawful acts, fraud, coercion, or public policy violations. Remedies for breaches such as compensations, injunctions, or specific performance are available under the Specific Relief Act 1950. Malaysian courts aim to ensure fairness and consistency in enforcing these contracts. Electronic contracts, regulated by the Electronic Commerce Act 2006, are legally equivalent to paper contracts and include emails, clip wrap, and gross rate agreements. They must comply with the Contract Act's 1950 principles. Under Section 6.1, electronic signatures and messages are valid. Section 20, 21 and 23 stated that a message is considered sent when it leaves the sender's control and received upon delivery to the recipient's designated system or, if unspecified, their business residence. This aligns with international standards like UNCITRAL Model Law on Electronic Commerce. For instance, clicking I agree in a click-write agreement forms a valid contract under the ECA. Smart contracts are self-executing agreements on blockchain technology. In Malaysia, they are governed by the Contracts Act 1950 and also supported by the Electronic Commerce Act 2006. These contracts offer automation and cost savings, but face challenges such as the need to stamping and compliance with the data protection laws such as GDPR. Blockchain's permanent nature complicated issues like the right to be forgotten, and Malaysia currently lacks clear regulation for smart contracts. Globally, regions like Arizona, US have introduced specific rules for smart contracts. However, issues like jurisdictional disputes and limited options for renegotiation or dispute resolution remain. For example, in a supply chain, a smart contract could automate payments once goods are delivered and verified. While efficient, it must still meet legal formalities such as stamping to be enforceable in Malaysia. Enforceability of contracts. Traditional contracts are enforceable under Contracts Act 1950 when they meet the conditions of offer, acceptance, consideration, free consent, legal capacity, and lawful purpose. Specific agreements such as property transactions require written formalities as stipulated by laws such as National Land Code 1965. Remedies for breaches include damages, injunction, or specific performance under Specific Relief Act 1950. Similarly, e-contracts are enforceable if they comply with the same legal principles. Acceptance is valid once sent and binding when received by the designated system, although ambiguities may rise if the system is undefined, making precise agreement crucial. Smart contracts' enforceability depends on their compliance with traditional contract laws, while digital signatures strengthen their validity. Challenges like stamping and jurisdictional issues can hinder recognition. For example, a blockchain-based smart contract may automate transactions, but its enforceability relies on fulfilling traditional legal requirements and adapting to evolving regulations. Offer significant benefits but require robust legal frameworks to ensure their practical and legal validity.
Now I will be presenting the conclusion part. In conclusion, traditional contract, electronic contract, and smart contract are governed by the specific frameworks and offer the unique and advantages and disadvantages. Traditional contract, which are regulated by the Contract Act 1950, where it is flexible, customizable, and legally enforceable. However, traditional contracts always have the problem with the fraud and miscommunication due to the manual process. If it occurs with the breach of the contract, we can claim the remedies such as damage, which were provided under the Specific Relief Act 1950. On the other hand, electronic contracts were regulated by the Electronic Communication Act 2006 ECA. Electronic contracts also provide the efficiency, cost saving, and high security through the electronic signatures. However, it always faces the challenges like privacy risks, storage issue, and amendment difficulties. Besides that, the smart contract powered by the blockchain technology, which promise the transparency and automations and cost efficiency, but it also have the trouble being enforced because of the legal uncertainty and the needs of the comply with the formalities like the stamping. By adhering to their respective legal statutes and balancing simplicity, efficiency, and innovations, Malaysia can ensure the successful implementations of all three types of contracts.